Welcome to the DEBrief. My name is Mariah Fletcher and I'm your host, where the DE brings the news to your ears. My first reporter I would like to welcome is Annalise Schmidt. Thank you for joining us. You have worked on the story about the McBride family, Murphysboro Fire Chief Steve McBride, who became fire chief in 2018, and his daughter Connor McBride, who became a Carbondale firefighter in June 2025. This February marks the first time they got to work together responding to an apartment fire. So it seems like a pretty interesting family that's fighting fires together. What was it like to talk with these people?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Both of them have been very involved with the fire department, especially like the local area fire departments. So it was super cool to hear about their, like what they've been doing and how they've been helping the community.
Awesome. So how did they get to respond to the same fire, like together on the same scene?
Yeah, so it was a mutual aid call. So it was a Carbondale apartment building that was on fire. And so Carbondale Fire Department was called. And so Connor, who is she's the firefighter for the Carbondale Fire Department. She responded first, and she was on the suppression team. So she went through and they looked at how the fire was progressing and whatnot, and they called in Murphysboro just for some backup. They often just have them come and like stand, and if they need any backup or any additional supplies, then they'll bring that. So her dad was able to come, and he was on call that day, and she was too, so they both ended up in the same place.
Cute. I love that. I feel like we need one more something else. Could you answer if I asked you, like, why are firefighters so important to our community?
Probably. I would hope so. I can riff.
Okay, so Annalise, why are firefighters so important to our community here in Carbondale and just everywhere around the country?
So Steve was talking about this a lot, and he just said it's super important that we have people in the community to help people like this, because I mean, people aren't calling on their like good days. They're calling when they need help. And so if there's any fires or any situations where there's someone in danger, you can call these people and they will come and help you out. And they are always on call, so you can always guarantee that there's probably going to be someone to come and help you out in those situations.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annalise, for coming on. We appreciate it. And you can learn more about the McBride family in the link in the description.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Curious about who's running for the Illinois primary? Stay up to date with all things election in the politics tab at dailyegyptian.com or through the link in the description. Next, I would like to introduce our editor-in-chief, Carly Gist, who just finished her follow-up story about the Civil Service Union employee contract at SIU. Carly, tell me a little bit about what's going on.
Yeah, so last semester I did 2 stories that talked about the Civil Service Union at SIU. One was that they went to a Board of Trustees meeting and they talked about low wages and poor working conditions. So then what I did was I looked into the CBIZ compensation study, that Compensation 2030. And with that study, it was supposed to look at the employee salaries of people at SIU and compare them to people at other universities. And there's this union on campus called the Association of Civil Service Employees, and they were waiting for that study to come around before they continued negotiating.
So SIU employees have been negotiating for 9 months about working conditions such as salary compression, sick days, and low wages. The Association of Civil Service Employees, SIU's Civil Service Union, reached an agreement for a new contract. Carly, tell me, what are exactly civil service employees?
Civil service is a job classification at SIU, and it refers to non-academic employees. So this includes accountant, office administrators, clerks, things like that. And then the ACSE union that you mentioned, they represent around 200 of those employees at SIU. And I spoke with Terry Richardson, who's the president of that, and he explained the difference to me, like between union and non-union workers. And so union workers are bound by their contract and non-union workers aren't.
Okay. Do we have any ideas of what is in the new contract or some things that are different?
Yeah, so one of the things that Terry Richardson spoke to me about is that they had a contract, the last time they had a contract ratified was in 2022, and that it provided an average salary increase of around 16%. And the thing was there that they were just trying to get people above minimum wage. So this time they were focusing on still getting that increase. And so, they were just focusing on building that. And so this time they got an average raise of 7% for the employees. Another thing that was on the contract was they negotiated sick days. And so Terry Richardson said that one of the things he wanted to do was have a shared leave program, which is where employees could donate their sick and vacation time to one another. He said that Edwardsville has a similar program, but they ended up compromising to create extended sick leave, which gives employees 20 sick days per fiscal year. And it has to be approved by HR and documented by a doctor's office. So I believe that's going to start up in July for these workers. And he said that this is going to help because it's going to give them a lot of time, especially for new employees if they have something coming up, which is what they were wanting to help those new employees. And then the other thing that he said they were looking at with this contract was addressing salary compression, which is minimal variation between employee salaries regardless of differences in experiences or skills.
So Carly, you also spoke with the Labor and Employee Relations Department. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I spoke with Kelly Bird, who's the director of that department, and she just walked me through the process of negotiating a contract. She said that what will happen is the union will put together a team and then the university will put together a team, and her department represents the university team. And so she told me that at the first meeting, the union will start by giving proposals to the university side. They typically start with non-economic proposals and then move on to those economic ones. She said that once the union gives their proposals, the university can generally respond immediately if it's non-economic, but they might have to consult with specific offices like the chancellors before responding to economic proposals. And so then they just keep going meeting by meeting until they come to a settlement. She said that the time kind of varies. For the civil service union, they negotiated for 9 months, which she said wasn't typical, but it wasn't necessarily unusual either because they have so many people in that organization. And I believe Terry had told me that they had 14 proposals. And he also mentioned that they were waiting for SIU started last year, I believe, the Compensation 2030 study, which was examining wages of SIU employees and then wages at other schools and comparing the two. So they were waiting on that. So it ended up taking around 9 months. And just to add one more thing, the contract has been ratified now. The organization all agreed on it, but it still needs to be signed. And Kelly Bird told me that can sometimes take up to a month. Okay, I think that's good.
That's good.
I think that's everything. Okay. Yeah.
All right, Carly, thank you so much for coming on. We'd love to have you in here. And you can learn more about the civil service contract in the link in the description.
Thank you so much for having me.
My name is Mariah Fletcher, and thank you for listening to the DEBrief. See the Daily Egyptian online at dailyegyptian.com. Our print edition is all around campus in Southern Illinois. Check our website for all locations of our print edition is available. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and LinkedIn. Send us your opinion at editor@dailyegyptian.com or DM us on Facebook and Instagram.